paint me red in this light that isn't mine. Finding every reason you can find to question my love. Remember that it's not me. I was never the one who broke your heart. We both know I've been gentle from the start. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen. You know I'll be patient with you. You're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me. You'll know I'll be faithful to you. You're my baby. I was never cheating. You connected dots that weren't there. You gave attention to the thoughts I never wear. It's not my style, even though it's so clear to me. You shouldn't base the future on the past. I know you really want this thing to last. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen. You know I'll be patient with you. You're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me. You'll know I'll be faithful to you. You're my baby. I don't wanna fight now. You're barking, you bite now. To prove that I'm right now, that you lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now. Can't see through the night. How to show you my light now. To paint these walls white now. I don't wanna fight now. You're barking, you bite now. To prove that I'm right now, that you've lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now. Can't see through the night. How to show you my light now. To paint these walls white now. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen. You know I'll be patient with you. You're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me. You'll know I'll be faithful. So though the questions keep on coming this time, you know that I'll listen. You know I'll be patient with you. You're my baby. Maybe this time you'll know you can trust me. You'll know I'll be faithful to you. You're my baby. To you, you're my baby. To you, you're my baby. To you, you're my baby. I don't wanna fight now. You're barking, you bite now. To prove that I'm right now, that you've lost your sight now. I'm holding it tight now. Can't see through the night. How to show you my light now. To paint these walls white now. If the road of truth is fine, which one of us is out of line? Although you say you can prove more, I can feel it down to my core. In a world where our words go, I sit in.
What up, everybody? It's Friday. It's Friday. How's it going, everybody? I'm gonna adjust the music really fast. I think it's still too loud. Yikes. Okay, there we go. All right, welcome to Friday, everybody. Today we'll be talking about epigenetics, but before I begin, I think that music's still too loud because I feel like I'm yelling at everybody. Nope, too low. Too high. I always do sound check beforehand, but I still can never get it right. Okay, so... Oh, let's start the PowerPoint. This is a PowerPoint. So today's topic is going to be epigenetics. We're just going to discuss it in a laid-back manner. The reason being epigenetics today is we had a professor from the University of Virginia visit our campus, or not visit our campus, actually, it was all virtual. I don't even know why I said that. I'm so used to like normal life, if you will. So if you're unfamiliar with Science Fridays, let me just give that background really quick. So Science Fridays, every Friday at 4 p.m., I'll be broadcasting a segment about relevant research that's currently going on around us. A lot of that research is obviously going to be coming from my research field or my background or things related to my background, which is psychological and brain sciences. So today's topic was regarding epigenetics, and it was, if you want the full title of the talk, it's actually down there in my about. If you scroll down, you'll see a tweet. I tweet before any stream for the most part, just to give people a heads up when I'm going to do it. You don't have to follow me on Twitter. You could just literally just see my page and see when I'm going to tweet. Hold on, I'm getting a message. Who's messaging me? Oh, it's Clicks. What? Oh, he's messaging me. Anyway, it's Clicks. I got to tell him about Science Friday. Anyway, so we had a talk today, and the title's in the chat. It's regarding oxytocin and DNA methylation. And now that DNA methylation, I'm going to touch up on it a little bit when we actually get into epigenetics. Wow, I'm still getting a lot of messages. Why is it not on streaming mode? My Discord didn't immediately go to streaming mode. Anyway. So yeah, so she gave a presentation over Zoom, and that's what we listened to. So that's what's going to inspire today's topic. However, it doesn't need to be constrained to epigenetics, but that is where I'm going to begin. One last shout out is every Tuesday I do another stream segment kind of like this one. It's not so super focused on a topic, but more so about anything ranging from like, it could be life, art, music, to science, history, whatever you want. It's really it's an open discussion about anything. But I'm not gaming during those sessions as well. And those take place every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, PST. The chat is active, so at any moment anyone can talk. Here's like an example message. Example message. If I could spell, that'd be sick. If I could spell, that'd be really sick. Yeah, there we go. So it will appear there. The reason I have it like this is for anyone. What's up? What's up, SPS? Thanks for joining us. The reason I have it that way is because if anyone does miss a Science Friday and really wants to, I have to go back to here, and really wanted to see a previous topic or something, all of Science Fridays and Taco Tuesdays are uploaded to a YouTube channel. That link's also my about. You don't have to subscribe or anything, but you can always just see any video there from previous times. And again, I always want to reiterate during any of my streams, gaming or not, at any moment we could talk about anything. It doesn't have to stay here. I just know, for the most part, there's just mainly me streaming to the void, so I'm just going to be talking about topics and then letting people listen as they come. Cool. So, man, I already need water. Like a second. So at any moment, people can I can pause, answer questions, or talk about anything else if people has like a burning question regarding anything else. And we can always talk about previous topics as well. Like if you wanted to talk about something from a Taco Tuesday during a Science Friday, that's totally fine. If you wanted to talk about gaming, I mean, preferably not during the Science Friday itself. I'm happy to like stream gaming afterwards a Science Friday and talk gaming. But if it's super burning, then this is the point of this channel is to have fun, but also to talk about science and learning stuff. So let's talk a little bit about epigenetics. Something I like to do on this channel is I actually like to pull up the definition first before I get into like any science and anything like that. So we're kind of on the same page with context and definitions and stuff like that. So let me pull up the wiki. Wiki's like a decent place to start for a lot of places. Okay, let me lower that a little bit more. I still feel like I'm screaming. Am I screaming? I don't know if you can hear me. Am I screaming or no? Is it like really loud or no? Or not so much. Okay. All right, cool. Now I don't know if the music's too low, but whatever. Okay, so epigenetics. In biology, epigenetics is a study of heritable phenotype changes that do not involve alterations in the DNA sequence. The Greek prefix epi over or outside or around epigenetics implies features that are on top of or in addition to the traditional genetic basis for inheritance. So let's just unpack all of that. So in biology, we understand that epigenetics is the study of heritable phenotype. So heritable meaning like you can pass your genes on. And I'm always going to give, when I talk, everybody, just so you know, sometimes I will go really into specific details, are very like I'm explaining it like you're a 5-year-old. That's just gonna be the nature of these things. If I guess there's general consensus that that's an overkill, then I can totally skip these things. But I do acknowledge that some people may not have biology backgrounds and stuff like that. So this is why I'm gonna unpack things like this before I really dive into what epigenetics is as a science and what it tells us. Um, so again, so it's the study of heritable phenotype. Phenotype is basically, you can think of it as your physical traits. You have your genotype, which is kind of, you can think of it as your DNA, and your phenotype is the DNA, what it expresses becomes what you look like. That's your phenotype. So heritable phenotype. So DNA that can be passed on looks that can be passed on, or your appearance that can be passed on. So epigenetics is the study of these heritable phenotypes changes. So how much they change, how much they fluctuate over time. And they do not involve alterations to the DNA sequence. So there's changes in how you might look, behave, think, and stuff like that. That doesn't necessarily impact the DNA sequence itself. So the Greek prefix epi, over and outside, in epigenetics implies features of on top of or in addition. So this is just simply telling us, all right, so you guys already kind of know about genetics. So epigenetics is just building on the logic of epigenetics, or of genetics, sorry. So again, the logic of genetics is saying, but I use the audio balance feature on my headphones. Oh, okay. So again, the genetics is just the science of like passing your genes on. You get some genes from your biological mother, and you get some genes from your biological father. They combine to create you, and that's genetics. And so epigenetics is saying, yes, that's still happening, but there can be a modification to how you as a person are going to come out, and the context can heavily influence this. So basically, the mechanism on which it's building, the genetic mechanism, like I said, the genetic mechanism is like, if you guys are familiar with mitosis in the cells and all of that stuff, the splitting of cells and how they replicate, and DNA is like the building code for proteins. DNA is like what do they call the blueprint of life? Yeah, it's the blueprint of life, because that's your DNA contains all the instructions to build any protein, whether it be a receptor, cell wall, things like that. Your DNA contains it, so that's why it's heavily protected in cells and everything. So within this DNA, what epigenetics is saying is, yes, it's like the DNA is there, but there's something on the DNA physically. It's literally, this actually plays out nicely. Epi meaning on or about, but there is literally something on the DNA that can cause a difference in expression. Even though your DNA code is the same as your parents or your sibling, if there's something called a methylation, and there's something also called an acetylation, but today we'll talk a little bit more about methylation. But acetylation, you can think of it almost as like the inverse of what I'm going to talk about today. It promotes a lot of behavior, and I'll describe what promotes mean when it comes to DNA sequencing, because you have to understand a little bit about epigenetics and what methylation kind of means. You kind of need to understand a little bit about DNA sequencing, how the sequence of your DNA kind of dictates or is the blueprint to building your proteins, to then building structures such as skin cells that gives rise to what you look like, your phenotype, as I described at the beginning. So sorry, sometimes I like go on really long sentences and my throat gets very dry. I'm very sorry. So so this is what we're saying, is we're building on genetics, and this methylation is literally on your genetics, your DNA, and a methylation is like a flag, if you will. Cool. So does anyone? I always like to take a little bit of breaks in these things to give anyone time to chat. But time to ask any questions or put anything in the chat, while I also catch my breath. But does anyone have any questions so far? And does anyone not want to hear about how DNA works? Because again, I stream to I don't know who's listening, so maybe some people have never even heard of the concept of like DNA and genetics. That's a possibility. So I'll give it like a minute to see if there's no response, that's fine. But I will talk a little bit about DNA, what it is, and like the DNA sequencing. running out of water. This is bad. Okay, I think I'm. Seems like a green light. Okay, so before I can begin talking about the epi part of the genetics of epigenetics, we kind of have to understand genetics. Otherwise, epigenetics won't really make sense. And then this is where people really start to, oh, there's a doorbell. What? Okay, that is unprecedented. I did not expect that. I'm very sorry, everybody. I have to go answer the door. Let me see who that is. I'll put that over here. So sorry, everybody.
Oh, I dream just to be where you are, in a world I can see where you are, though you are meant to be. Wish you're here next to me, where you
All right, I'm back, everybody. Sorry. There's someone here to repair a lot of stuff. So there might be a little bit of background noise. I'm sorry. I forgot where I was. Shoot. Where was I? Where was I? Oh, on genetics. So we have to understand genetics first. So genetics is essentially, if you've heard of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, that's what DNA stands for. It's basically the structure, if you think about it like a ladder that has little rungs in it. The little rungs are little bonds between molecules, your DNA molecules, and there's 4 DNA molecules. You have A, T, C, and G. I think it's adenosine. This one, I have to really jog my memory to do this. Adenosine, taurine, cytosine, and guanine, I believe, is the 4 DNA molecules. And it's always A goes the T, and I'll put that in chat. Oops. And it always goes A goes the T, and C goes with G. A little cool side fact about this is there's a movie called Gattaca that has, what's the actor's name? Ethan Hawking or Ethan Hawke or something? Yeah, Gattaca, but Ethan Hawke. I don't remember. But Gattaca, yeah, Gattaca's made up of the DNA things because it deals with genetics. That movie, it's like a futuristic movie with Jude Law and but the main dude, Ethan Hawke, Ethan Hawking. I don't know. Ethan Hawke, right? Yeah, okay, cool. I was right. So Ethan Hawke. Yeah, Gattaca. So that's a little cool little tidbit of knowledge about that movie. They specifically chose Gattaca because it's the 4 molecules. And I don't know if someone has double checked me or not, but I think it is adenosine, taurine, cytosine, and guanine. But anyways, so DNA is basically you have your C and your G as your backbone. That's creating your ladder, and your A and T, and different sequences of A and T bonds and C and G bonds, or G and C, however it may be. They're creating this ladder, and so the bonds between them like this. That's why I put a little hyphen between A to T and C to G. It's because it creates a ladder. So if I just kept making a sequence, right? This is how DNA is kind of sequenced. Oh, sorry, C to G, and then I could do G to C. I could do A to T, G to C, G to C, A to T, and it just goes building a ladder. So this is what DNA looks like. But then, because there's so much DNA to life, right? To be able to have instructions to build a lot of different types of proteins, because for example, you need a protein to build you hair, you need a protein to build you skin cells, you need protein and you need receptors, you need different functions for your proteins, you need things that you need building materials for blood cells, you need building materials for muscle cells, you get the point. So there's so much DNA required that what it does is it actually twists, and this is due to very famous studies. There's actually 3 people. One person, was it Rosalind Franklin? I'm going to Google this really quick. Rosalind Franklin. If I remember this, I'm going to be very Franklin. I remember it. Wow, I am very proud of myself for this one. So we got Rosalind Franklin. I'm going to put these things in chat. So if people want to Google them really quick. Rosalind Franklin, with her research and her help, you also had this team of Watson and Crick. So thanks to these scientists here, they were able to get pictures of DNA, and they saw that it was a helix. It wasn't just a ladder. They saw that it was a helix, and that was kind of weird. So this ladder basically twists, and it twists a lot, and what that allows it to do is it allows it to form coils. So it forms what are called subordinate coils. So the DNA itself twists, but it twists so much that it forms a coil, and then that in itself coils, and that creates a chromosome. So you get you get a bunch of coils that create big supercoils, and that gets an X, and that's called the chromosome, right? So this is what we're talking about. Epigenetics are things that are going to attach to your ladder. They're going to attach to it, and what it's going to do is it's either going to allow or not allow what's called DNA transcriptorase and RNA polymerase, DNA transcriptorase, and other proteins. Basically, what they're in charge of is heliocase. Basically, these are proteins that what they're in charge of is of unzipping the DNA. It goes through, unzips the DNA, exposing it, and then another thing comes in, copies and pastes that side, another thing can copy and paste this side, and now you got DNA message to be sent out to go build. So outside in the cell, you have all these like miniature, you have like a factory that has a nice process, right? So you get this DNA code from the nucleus of the cell. That code gets spit out. It's now just a code, and it gets translated. So this is where you hear the terms mRNA, messenger RNA, contains the DNA code that got copied over, and then you have your transfer RNA, and this is all really backstory. But basically, you get this machine that then it ends up in having your protein that then goes on to do everything else for life, if you will. So these scientists found that these DNAs were coiling like this, and this is what gives us the backbone of really understanding genetics and how things get replicated so nicely, like how you can get twins, for example. It just shows that there is this copy-paste machine, if you will, in DNA. However, there are these molecules called methylation. So methane is basically CH4, carbon H4, carbon and hydrogen, 4 hydrogens. Carbon basically can only have 4 bonds. But it makes a very stable molecule. This is why it's the backbone of nature. And basically, it's very easy for it to find a home. And so methylation is basically this carbon group that goes. Sorry. I'm so sorry. It's this carbon group that goes and attaches itself to the backbone of DNA, or to like the rung, and that makes it so this heliocase that comes and it acts as a zipper gets stuck and it can't do it anymore. So any segment after this will not be read. So this is what methylation means. So when scientists say there's an increase in methylation, that means there's a downregulation of expression of whatever that gene is. So downregulation means it's not going to be exhibited as much. So for example, if I have a DNA for black hair, this is the sequence on this part of my arm for black hair. A methylation sticks here and basically makes a block. The zipper comes by and does this. It can't replicate black hair anymore. I will have fewer odds of getting black hair when I'm born. Or this is what epigenetics starts to say. However, this process still functions when you're already alive. So if there's cells that are in charge of continuously creating black hair, and then they get methylated, they get turned off, then I stop producing black hair, and that can give rise to gray hair, for example. So this is kind of the notion of epigenetics and the flagging I was mentioning. You get methylation. It can also allow for activation. This is why in the talk today you heard me ask about acetylation. Acetylation is basically saying, hey, look at me, you should promote me and do this. So there's a lot of I don't really remember all the science here, but if I remember correctly, methylation just deals with gene suppression, and acetylation is the inverse of that. So that's why I was also asking. So in today's talk, we heard from a professor from the University of Virginia. Her name was Dr. Kathleen Kroll. If you're really interested in her work, you can see her page. I already posted that down there in my Twitter. But she was talking about downregulation of oxytocin promoters, basically, because she was talking purely about methylation. So I was asking if she's had a chance to look at acetylation, the promotion of those the promotion of a gene expression. But to my knowledge, I think methylation literally is not defined, but what kind of classifies something as the process of methylation using methyl group is the fact that you're downregulating or you're suppressing gene expression, because you're basically blocking the helicase. So because when I mentioned that chromosomes are coiled and stuff, they coil around what are called histones. And so the DNA protein is wrapped around histones, and the methylation doesn't allow it to unwrap and then unzip and all of that. So if you can't get in there, you can't replicate it, you can't express it. So by that logic, I'm 90% sure methylation is only for gene suppression, because acetylation is almost the opposite. It flags it for unwind me, you should unwind me, please. And so so the cool thing is when you describe all of genetics, you've done 90% of describing what epigenetics is. Basically, epigenetics is the process that happens while you're still alive. They did a rat study where they grabbed this line of rats. They made sure that several generations never exhibited any depressive symptoms, never had any brain morphology indicative of any depression or trauma. And then what they did was, and I don't remember exactly the paradigm, but they stressed out some rats and made sure the rats developed chronic depression-like symptoms, and made sure like the hippocampus was very damaged, and that's kind of indication that you've done your job for chronic depression, with like implementing chronic depression. So they did that, and then found that the next generation of pups were more likely to get depression, even though the DNA sequence never had kind of the code for depression, but all of a sudden it popped out in the pups. So just like stressing out pups as well also promoted more DNA expression. I don't fully remember all the details, and I'm really happy to go find that thing. I just want to say that there are animal studies regarding epigenetics and actually looking into cells, but today's talk was regarding infants and stuff like that, so they didn't really get into cells, but a lot of the human studies are based on a lot of the knowledge we already have from cellular biology and the way epigenetics is working using rat models. I'm happy to try to go dig up a paper, that paper I was mentioning regarding rats and passing on depression, but I just remember the take-home message was, even if you don't come from a history of depression, if you yourself undergo trauma and you develop like PTSD, your kids are now more likely to get depression due to epigenetics. Their proclivity is higher. It doesn't mean they will get it. That's not what this is saying. It's saying the proclivity is a little bit more. And proclivity just means to have like a natural tendency to do something. I'm going to pause for questions. Just waiting, because basically that's like the basic that's like the basic idea of epigenetics. So that's a really good question. How do you know in case someone isn't reading this, the question is, how do you know when the rat's hippocampus is sufficiently damaged? Science is boring. Welcome, Clicks. Thanks for that. Clicks is a troll here. He's our common troll us scientists like to examine them. And I don't know why my camera went out. There we go. We like to examine trolls, try to get answers to our questions, study behavior. Anyway, going back to the question, how do you know when the rat's hippocampus is sufficiently damaged? So basically what you can do is you create a paradigm or you create an experiment where you grab a lot of pups from the same mother, so you are trying to control for genetic factors, and you're going to grab like 4 or 5, put them in one condition, and you're going to have 4 or 5, put them in a different condition, and then for one batch of those rats, you're going to stress them out a lot, and you're going to do a lot of things that are heavy predictors of depression and damage to the hippocampus. You're going to stress them out, and these are going to do nothing. You're just going to let them live their lives normally, happily, whatever you want. And then kind of when you decide you want to really end your experiment, you have to kill the rats. You're going to get the brain, you're going to slice open the brain, you're going to use a microscope, and you're going to use a staining technique called the Golgi body staining method. It's a really interesting method. The funniest thing about it is we still don't really know how it works, but it works. But under a microscope, it really lights up cells beautifully, like neurons beautifully. So if you compare a rat that's been heavily stressed to a rat that's not been heavily stressed, the neurons of like a normal or healthy rat, if you will, they have all these branches everywhere, and they're really long and they're reaching everywhere. So this is indicative that there's a lot of branching and bifurcation of the neurons, which means they have a lot of memories. Their memories are a little bit better because they have all these connections to other neurons, and their networks are more dense. In the very stressed rats, you'll see what's called like truncated neurons. They're smaller, they're not as long, they don't have as many branches or fingers, if you will. So they're just overall smaller neurons. The body itself is still the same. So that was actually a really interesting notion that people didn't detect for a long time. They thought that like when you undergo stress and stuff, your neurons died essentially, or like that smaller they were perceiving neurons to be smaller, and they're like, oh, it's causing permanent damage. But what they actually found was that if you because no one went beyond unstressing the rat, so they'd kill him. So when people actually started saying what happens for recovery, they actually started seeing in the hippocampus these neurons that truncated this. If you did the same process, killed rats, found that those neurons were truncated, but of those rats that you had in the stress condition, you let more of them live and do recovery, then you kill them, check the neurons, you'd see that they're back to being what a normal rat would have had. So there is such thing as neurogenesis, or like the creation of more connections between your neurons, even if after you've undergone a lot of stress or trauma to the neurons, and they've kind of retracted. Right? So you can kind of almost think of it like they're kind of anxious to go out to the world. And so if everything's nice and rosy and beautiful, then they like spread out. If things get scary, it goes like this. But unfortunately, healing takes a lot longer than this. So therapy takes a while, and we are still trying to get the science of getting that healing and the neurons to regrow. We're still trying to get that science down. When I say we, I'm not saying me specifically. I'm not doing this right now. I'm just saying that scientists as a community, because I was last in a lab that was looking at that like 4 years ago. So hopefully they made some progress. That'd be sick, but we'll see. These are good questions. I sent you a message. Young kid hung. Clicks came in at the tail end, so I don't even know if he heard what epigenetics is. It's been 34 minutes. So we can transition into naive realism or anything else. But that was basically, just wanted to kind of, okay. Okay, I just basically want, today's topic was just epigenetics, what it is, and to see if anyone had questions or ideas or anything like that. So we can keep talking about it, or we can switch. We can do anything. Except I'm out of water. What are other ways can that epigenetics can happen? I don't fully understand all the ways. The last time I got to really be reading any literature on epigenetics was 7 years ago. So I'm really happy I still remember a lot of this stuff. But also I feel like I'm not misremembering, but I'm not remembering like the study details and stuff like that. Hold on, I'm getting a message. So I'm trying to remember. So I know that there's this. I don't know if this really directly answers your question or not, but I mean this is kind of related and it is interesting to me. There is this study done by it was either Rosenthal or Rosen. I wish I could remember the citation. This is really old citations, but it was a scientist who took some rats and the same rats that were born from the same mother, and he took several of them, put it in like an environmentally rich environment where like the rats could play around with toys and they had like all these things to play with and stuff. And he put some of those same rats, not same rats, some of the other like sisters or the siblings into an environment that was environmentally void of anything. So they were extremely bored the whole time, and then basically they let them grow up that way, and then when they went and examined the brains of the ones that were like in the enriched environment had way more neurons. It held on to way more. When I say held on, what they started finding is in the developmental process. So in today's talk, the researchers gave a little bit of background about the development of the human brain and how like so much happens in the first 9 months. That's true for a lot of mammalian brains. So in the rat, the same thing happens. And what the researchers showed was that the more complex the brain was brought up in, the more like that. Okay, sorry. Let me take a step back. They first said, look, rats are all born with an excess of neurons, and they believe that like that's just how mammalian brains work. And then it goes pruning them as it sees that it doesn't need them. So if if the rat's brain, I guess, is perceiving that it doesn't need to know how to climb, it might not dedicate as many neurons to motor function for climbing, if you will. So it makes for a very interesting notion because it kind of suggests like, okay, so maybe this can be leading to a lot of discrepancies in societies and things like that, like the access to complex environments versus not, and how it shapes your brain. But there's always context to take into account, because if the environment is complex but extremely stressful, then your brain also prunes. It also gets rid of neurons because it doesn't. Basically, it's acting like it's under shock and doesn't want to remember this. Memory gets very impaired when it comes to experiencing stress. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but epigenetics, by the definition of epigenetics, happens through methylation and acetylation. While the DNA is like what it basically is saying is you're modifying phenotype. Okay, cool. You're modifying the phenotype without having to modify the blueprint. That's what epigenetics is kind of getting at. I wish I could remember the years. Rosalind Franklin and Watson and Crick. I'm staring at those and I don't have years for them, but clicks, man. Just because it's not gaming, he's falling asleep on us. Or maybe his Z key is broken, because look at the clicks. It says clicks. This is broken. This is broken. This clicks is broken. Oh my god. I don't know what else I could talk about regarding epigenetics. We can shift, but like, so just a little background to anyone that's listening. Someone in the chat that's sitting there, I'm not going to highlight them. I don't want to put them on the spot, but they know more about Naive Realism than I do. Are those like really cute teddy bears? I didn't know you could do that. That's very nice. Thanks for spreading the positivity, Broseph Stalin. I don't know why I called you that. Brochacho. Are those Doritos or pizza? Doritos. I haven't had Doritos in forever. How's everyone's Friday going? Is that okay? My thing isn't. This thing needs to keep. Come on, go power. There we go. Boom. Now, oh dude, oh, now I'll popcorn. So should we? And any other questions or any other ideas regarding epigenetics? Do you guys believe me? You don't have to believe me. Straight like you don't have to. I do like dogs, yeah. I don't know what game we're playing right now, Clicks, but this I'm not very good at doing this tango, whatever tango we're currently doing, I'm not following. Give me a stronger lead. We can talk about. Wait, what? What is that? Okay, we can salsa. I'm down to salsa. Okay, you ready? I don't know. I don't know how to salsa. But what is that? Seriously, an emote that's allowed? Or not like allowed, but that's a thing? That's a real thing? Wait, what? What is going on there? Alright, but anyway. If anyone's now joining us, I've already discussed... Oh, that's a Mercy. Is that Mercy? I can't even tell. But anyways, if you're just joining us, I've already discussed a little bit about about epigenetics. I kind of took a deeper dive into genetics itself because epigenetics builds on the logic of genetics, if you will. And so I already kind of in a simplified manner already discussed the process of genetics and epigenetics, like methylation and acetylation and things like that. What's up, Pikachu? The wings are each separate. Do I have to pay for those wings? I see. Sorry, this thing is going off. Stop it, stop it, stop it. My phone's vibrating a lot. Okay, anyway. How are people getting wings? I want wings. I don't even know how you type in wings. Alright, there we go. Let me see. I'm gonna try to do this. Let's see. Wing. Oh, got it. I can't believe I already... Okay. Boom. You just do... It's the same emote system as Warframe. Boom. What is that? Squidward? Squid. Ooh. I was gonna grab something really fast. Nope, not that. Wait, what? I don't want to hide my Science Friday. Don't hide my Science Friday. Okay. So. Looking something up. What? Dude, wait, can you do any Pokemon? I can't. How is this man doing this? Oh, I caught you. I got you. I got you. Who do we got? Who do we got? Who do we got? I like... Oh, this dude. The champ. The OG Steel fella. Steel fella. Oh, nice. Welcome. I didn't see that. We've already discussed. I'm happy. Oh, and anytime during these streams, I'm happy to always redo anything. So if people join in late and want to hear what epigenetics are or anything like that, I've already discussed it, but I'm happy to rediscuss it at any time and reopen up any discussion, science or education related, anything like that. And I also proposed the idea of doing naive realism. Chill. This man's just really all about his Pokemon. Wait 1 second. Whose face? My face? I don't think you will ever find that one. Sorry, there's people working on the sink. That dude doesn't have a beard. Let me see if I can find beard. Does beard work? I mean, I guess. What happens if I type in? What happens if I type in? Well played. What happens if I type in like? Can I do this? No. What about? What is that? Is that a birthday cake? Well played. Is that what the middle candle said? Because it's lining up like that. I can't. Where are all these faces coming from? Do they have like a database, a face database here? Is that what's going on here? Let's see, face. Wow, there are a lot of faces. Hit the face next to chat bar forehead. Ah, he called me forehead. Oh, dang. Oh, dang, there's so many. I never saw this. Man, I am a forehead. Check this out, ready? Check this out, fella. I'll bet you didn't know you could do this. Hold up. Oh, what? Didn't even work. I honestly never saw that little icon that I could just choose all these faces. There. Oh, now I see the Dorito. Okay, what else do we have? What else do we have? Oh, these are the unlocked ones. I have to like unlock a lot of. Oh, there's a Bob Ross. Oh, and that's how you spam it. Now I gotcha. Okay, now we're learning things. See, you learn something new every day. I mean, I already learned something else new today, but what else do we have? Do we have? What else do we have? That is. Wait, what? Why are they like alternating? Cool story, bro. Wait, what is going on? Cool story, Bob. Pixel Bob. Cool story, Bob. Pixel Bob. Interesting. So, I'm gonna pose it in here. Do we do more science talk? More science talk? Do we do gaming? Do we do salsa? Tequila corazón? Cerveza? Muy bueno. It's a song. Naive realism? All right. Well, now I'm gonna be real nervous. But I'm gonna do. No, I'm not gonna be nervous. I'm just kidding. But the cool thing is, we do have. I mean, I don't. I also don't want to. Never mind. I'm not gonna say anything. All right. Naive realism. Let's talk about naive realism. So, if you're not interested in this, well, then you might want to change the channel, because naive realism, we're about to talk a little bit about social psych. We're transitioning from epigenetics. So now let me. We'll put an arrow to signify. We talked about it, and now we're moving on to. No, that looks like greater than. Now we're moving on to naive realism. Boom, naive realism. Can you spell that? Spell what? Naive realism? Or it's on the stream, but I'll do it right here. Naive realism. I don't have the symbol to do the double dot over the I, because you're supposed to have a double dot over the I, but I don't. Let me try this. Ready? Double dot. It looks like a face. It looks like a fail face, like wank wank. Wank. Okay. Anyway. Wait, what? Wait, let's see what it is. It is related to the philosophical concept of naive realism, which is the idea that our senses allow us to perceive objects directly and without any intervening process. Social psychologists in the mid-20th century argued against this stance and proposed instead that perception is inherently subjective. Yes, sir! Yeah, get that science in there. Get their science in there. Okay, so I'm going to post the definition. This is where I was mentioning in a previous stream. I was like, dude, looking up the definition naive realism made me realize that this deuterino. Oh wait, no, that's a different topic. Never mind. Nothing. Forget everything I said in the last like 10 seconds. So let's see. Let's put this one. Let's put this definition in there. So we'll do this from Wikipedia. Naive realism describes people's tendencies to believe that they perceive the social world. Yeah, okay, there we go. There's the social psychological one. I was gonna say, because this one's the one from Wikipedia. So naive realism describes people. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so let's read this one. Naive realism describes people's tendency to believe that they perceive the social world as it is, as objective reality, rather than as a subjective construction and interpretation of reality. This belief that one's perceptions are realistic, unbiased interpretations of the social world has two important implications. Oh, he's got a follow-up? Yeah. This is not so logic. That's why it's hilarious. But anyway, let's go back to naive realism. Okay, wait, hold on. First, that other rational people will have similar perceptions as oneself. Second, that other people who have different perceptions from oneself must be uninformed, not privy to the same information as oneself, irrational or biased. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of what the Wikipedia one says. Wikipedia says, in social psychology, naive realism is the human tendency to believe that we see the world around us objectively, and that people who disagree with us must be uninformed, irrational, or biased. Nice. Welcome, everybody, whoever's joining. Thanks for coming. We're talking about naive realism right now. So, okay. So I guess let's unpack that a little bit. I'm going to unpack the Wikipedia one because that's the one I have in front of me. So naive realism is the human tendency. So a tendency is already another way of saying a bias. Because a bias, so the thing that I encounter kind of from some of the people when you talk to them about bias is they might immediately interpret bias as a negative thing. But when you just look at a definition of bias is just a deviation from otherwise choosing things randomly. Like you can have a very strong bias towards chocolate ice cream when you go get ice cream, right? That's called having a bias towards ice cream. Whether you know it or not, that's a different topic concerning explicit versus implicit bias, but that's what a bias is. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's like awful and you're an awful person for being biased. We're all biased. All of us are by nature biased because we're going to have preferences. So let's go back to this definition. Where to go? There it is. And is the human tendency, or the bias, if you will, to believe that we see the world around us as objectively. Because, and this one I've actually been thinking about it. Like, this is from a non-data standpoint, but just like me thinking about why we do this, theoretically speaking, and I love to bounce ideas off people and see if they think the same way. But like the tendency to do this, to think that we think objectively, but others do not, like if they don't agree with you. Because to me, like the brain, understanding it on both a biological level and a psychological level, I just really feel like the brain is kind of like both this cool mental machine, but this also kind of computer that likes to be fed data, and it's processing data and processing data. And a lot of this is happening like unconsciously, but it just loves getting data. And so when it comes to getting data about yourself, you're getting 100% of your own data. So that's why you can make like what you think are the most accurate judgments, is because you have 100% of your own data. Human instinct that we always want to be right. Yeah, that's oh my god. So I hope I can be corrected. But the human instinct that we always want to be right. I mean that kind of taps into self-serving bias. But that's which one's the theory that's we always want to be right? Because this one sounds like a self-serving bias. Self-serving bias. I'll put this in the chat. Sorry, I'm just stretching my. Here's the one I'm talking about, so the one that kind of rang a bell really quick. But there's also the better than average effect. Cognitive bias, that's, but you have to define which bias behind that one. Cognition is just like the process of thinking, if you will. Bias is just that you prefer something over another thing. So you might be thinking like consensus bias, but consensus bias, or I guess it could be. Because if we don't know, we get scared and we don't like, yeah. Because if we don't know, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So a lot of my thoughts is basically driven by like this lack of information regarding others, and then if you're under threat, if you have a fear, then that could surface or manifest itself as prejudice, racism, things like that. But we don't have to dive into the one thing that I do want to make sure we're clear when we talk about science. Yeah, that's very true, actually. Mechanically speaking, it is awesome to be able to interpret your world as accurate as possible, so you can measure threats to you, you can measure benefits to you really fast, but you need it to be accurate information. So that's actually really true from an evolutionary standpoint. It's very important to be accurate. But what I was going to quickly mention, when we talk science here, it's never intended to be polarizing. Just remember, we're just talking about ideas here. It's never meant to be polarizing. Some of the topics spoken about in social psychology deal with very sensitive topics. It is not like my intention to be making anyone feel any specific way. I'm just going over research. Now, that being said, I typically don't go into anything too polarizing or sensitive, but I more so touch up on the broader theories, which are more in a neutral state, because we're talking science. So that's the point of this channel, to talk science. I will strike down immediately anyone who is coming in trying to yell and scream obscenities and things like that. This is just supposed to be a fun talk regarding our thoughts and beliefs. Well, not necessarily beliefs, but like our thoughts and perspectives. There we go, of the science and stuff like that, and ideas. What is polarizing? Polarizing is anything. So by the definition, polar, to be polar. So if you think about North Pole, South Pole, it means to be opposite. That's what polarizing means. So if you were to not be polarized, that means everyone kind of falls in the center. If you're polarized, that means your data, or whatever it may be, your magnets, whatever, your two things are on opposite ends. So something that's polarizing means it either like if you say, man, that movie is very polarizing, that means you're saying people either really love it or they really hate it, but there's no real in between. And so, of course, a really polarizing topic for Americans right now, because if anyone listening right now was unaware, there were elections very recently. So elections obviously is a very, or politics, especially near elections, becomes very polarizing because you get people that they want to support their political thing. The intention of this channel is to not debate those things. We're not going to consume any time debating on your own political beliefs and what you think is better and things like that. We're going to be discussing ideas and science as objective scientists, if you will. So just be aware, anyone in chat, that I will try to steer conversations away from anything that starts to slip away into regions that is no longer promoting science and knowledge and stuff like that. So let's get back to naive realism. So naive realism, yeah, I've been playing with that idea of like you're always collecting data on yourself. And you don't get data on anyone else for the most part. So maybe like your spouse or your family members, you get a lot of data on them because you do spend. No. You don't have to apologize at all. This wasn't an attack on you. I'm on the contrary. I was answering your question. I didn't mean it to sound like mean or anything. I just mean I just want to take a quick break to be like when I speak science, I might sometimes say something that could be sensitive, but I don't mean it in a polarizing or inflammatory way. I mean it because this is a topic, and we're also trying to establish a domain where we can talk about the world around us, and the world around us sometimes involves topics that can be sensitive, but we can all talk about it in a scientific way. It doesn't mean we have to get triggered, regardless of our own personal beliefs. And all I'm saying is, if you get triggered and you're going to start yelling things at me or at other people in the stream, we'll just expect to be muted. That's all I was saying. Yeah. No, I get you. I'm trying to unpack my words as well. I do understand that some of the words I'm gonna use are jargony, which means like it's very specific to the field. And if I say something like that and um, you didn't understand it, please feel free to pause me and be like, what did you mean by that? And I'm happy to define anything. I'm trying my best to like, if I accidentally say a jargon word, I'll try my best to unpack that. But if it does slip, yeah, I apologize. It's not my intention to lose you. This is supposed to be the opposite. It's supposed to be informative. So it's not my intention to lose anybody when I'm talking. But like I said, I don't know my entire audience. I don't know who's really listening. So I don't know how dive too deep into things or how superficial or how much to scratch upon certain things. So I've tried to find a middle ground. Anyways, with that being said, yeah, so I didn't mean it in any way. You didn't have to apologize, Click. So I'm sorry if I like came off kind of heated. I just mean like I'm gonna be very strong about excising or like not allowing trolls to just come in here and ruin what's otherwise like a fun time while we can be talking science. I'm willing to be talking about like trolling stuff when we're gaming and stuff, but like in this specific channel, I'm not gaming, so like we're here to kind of talk. But we can also, it doesn't always have to be science. But yeah, that's all I was saying. Sorry, that's a very long tangent. So back to naive realism. Um, so where was I with the definition of this? Oh, sorry, where was it? Naive realism. And people who disagree with us must be uninformed, irrational, or biased. So it's very interesting to me. There's two different notions to talking about this. There's our human tendency to think that there's part one, that we think everything around us is objective, and part two, that not only do we think we're objective, but that those around us, when they spew whatever they're spewing, must be biased. Those are two different conclusions to come up with very quickly with impact within that one definition of naive realism. So I'm wondering, what's the process, do you guys think, as human beings, that leads us to think we're objective, and the other process, is it the same process that leads us to think, oh, you must be wrong, or like that person must be wrong, they're uninformed or biased? um, Interesting. I don't have a big background in naive realism literature. This is why I can't like be the expert on it. That's why I'm just here to just talk about it and just make sure. The other thing that I do want to mention during Science Fridays and like Taco Tuesday and stuff, I'm not posing here as the expert. I'm not trying to set that up. I'm just trying to set up a situation where it facilitates or kind of just sparks a talk. Just talk about it. I'm not trying to teach and preach or whatever you want to call this. That's not the intention here. I'm out of water. I'm out of water. All right, so I'm gonna go get more water. In the time being, I guess if there's any questions, would be a great time to put them in, or thoughts on the question I posed about two different processes versus one. I don't know, or any other things, or if naive realism in itself doesn't really make sense still, maybe you want to talk about an experimental design that could show support for naive realism. I'll try to dig it up and talk about that. But I'm gonna go grab water. I'll be right back. Got a full bottle of water of agua. Delicioso. Still don't get it? Okay, so the basic, like, I don't know what's tripping you up, but basically, let me see if I can reiterate it. The basic notion is that we as humans, so you, me, anyone on the street, on average as well. A lot of these theories, when we talk about them, we're talking about averages. So the person on average. So just because you might not feel exactly like, oh, that theory doesn't apply to me, it must be wrong, it doesn't necessarily apply to everybody. A lot of science is it's based a lot on averages, not on extreme cases, right? We're not going to try to make conclusions based on very rare instances. We're going to try to make conclusions on the thing that's most likely to happen. Seems like a bunch of jargon. Of what you say is jargon. Okay, let me try to unpack that a little bit more. So, when it comes to naive realism, you are walking around your world, right? And you've encountered people you talk to at work, with me, on gaming, whatever, and you're bound to encounter people that have different views and opinions, beliefs, attitudes than you are. You're bound to, right? So what this theories is, or this sentence right here that I've been defining, is trying to say is that we have this tendency or this like habit that we think that what we believe is objective. And if you're unfamiliar with that kind of theme of objective versus subjective. Objective is what we'd classify as absolute truth, like saying 2 + 2 = 4 would be something objective. What is going on there? Oh, it's a bot. All right. What up, Botteroni? See ya, Botteroni. It's like, what is that? It looked like Ty. Anyway. Sorry, that totally like threw me way off my train of thought. So when we say objective, that's like you're saying, objectively speaking, 2 + 2 = 4. Yeah, that's objective. You don't have an opinion about math, and that's objective. But when things are more based on opinion, belief, things like that, you call that subjective, right? It's not like a factual truth, if you will. I don't know if does that make sense? Because if objective versus subjective doesn't make sense, this is why naive realism cannot make sense. Okay, cool. So what naive realism is saying is that we have this tendency or habit of us thinking that what we experience and that what we know is objective, and that what other people around us, when they disagree with us, that they are not objective, that they are subjective, that they themselves are biased or they're uninformed, they just don't know, and you do. That we have a tendency to think that. That's what naive realism is saying. Or like the definition of naive realism, not the entire theory. Does that make more sense now? I really like this song. Tristram. Crave by Tristram. Okay, cool. All right, so now my question to you guys, or just like a rhetorical question, if you want to treat it as a rhetorical question, is there are two steps within naive realism that I kind of detected. And again, like I said, I'm not like an expert in naive realism. I don't do research on it. So I'm just bouncing off ideas because I don't know all the answers to these questions. But there seems to be two components within this process of naive realism. One, that you form the belief that you are objective, and two, that you form the belief that other people are not objective. Does that happen at the same time? Or is it two different processes that aren't necessarily mutually exclusive? Now, I know there's the consensus type stuff, like when you talk to others that have the same beliefs and you think they're kind of more objective. I forgot what that theory was saying because you posted it, Clicks, in the thing. It's where is it? First, that other rational people will have similar perceptions as oneself. So that I kind of get how that can bleed into them influencing each other, but are they like two independent processes that influence each other, or is it just simultaneous? I'm objective, anyone against me is subjective, by definition. If they disagree with me, by definition, they're subjective. I'm just curious if those are two different processes or one simple process like that, black or white process. It either is or it isn't. I don't know. Oh. Oh, shoot, I forgot we were all muted in here. I can unmute at any point. Sorry. I totally forgot I had I mean, I'm already in there. Oh, quick shout out to anyone listening really quick. It's an if then. Huh. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I have it right. If it's an if then. Um if I'm so you say the if then statement would be if they match my views, they are objective. If they do not, then they are not objective. Now, do you think that happens at the same time? Like that is so that sounds like a one step process, right? Because you either are or you aren't. So, I mean that makes sense to me if you kind of see as objective and subjective being inherently opposite. Yeah, okay. Okay. Interesting. Now, do you think you've ever encountered this, or do you think you've ever done this? That's another thing I love about social psych. Like, try to think back of like maybe you've been debating with someone and um, they kept shooting you down, saying like, oh, it's because all of I don't know your whatever. That always happens. Yeah. So that's why I love doing streams like this regarding some social psych topics because it's topics we can all relate to. They're dumb if they don't get it. But that's naive realism. Yeah, that's naive realism right there. They're dumb if they don't get it. I guess it's not really fully naive realism in that instance, but yeah. But the cool thing is like, well, at least in my experience now, I don't have any empirical evidence to really say this, but in my experience, or to support this notion, my experience behind a lot of like finding these things out about it's especially when I first found out about it as an undergrad, I started really doing more what's called monitoring of my own behavior and trying to pick up when I was like performing in a bias or acting in a biased way, and um, and I know you have to have like motivation and an opportunity to be doing those things, but I feel like if you're at least aware that these theories are a thing and they might happen and you might be doing it, that you're hopefully less likely to start engaging them and be more willing to like consume knowledge, more accurate knowledge, if you will. But I don't even know where I'm really going with that thought. Let me see. Still okay. So do you? What else can we talk about? Or I mean, we can keep talking. I think we can keep talking about naive realism. But hold on, I just got a message. What? I'm very confused. And Bench is not responding. Okay, so hold on. Okay. Oops. These are the notes I was taking. Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on. I'm getting so many messages. What the heck is happening here? Dang it! Everyone's... Okay, what is going on here? I'm getting trolled. Okay, let me see. You're live! That's so weird to do it. Hello?
GG's. I was trying to respond to something you said, and then I was like, he's not answering. And I looked up, I was like, wait, I'm server muted.
You are server muted, friend, but now you're not. You're live on
GG's.
Shark Party National Radio. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, please don't.
Okay, anyway, what's up?
Something you're talking about was the self-serving bias.
The self-serving bias, yeah?
It's like, dude, we were literally talking about that in my test.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Your test was highly related.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, the playlist is over. Yeah, we can open up a discussion even. Anyone that wants to join. So anyone listening, we have a Discord for kind of post. I don't even want to call it post Science Friday, but just like for anything at any time to discuss all these things that we discuss here. We do have a Discord, and I was gonna do a shout out earlier, and I totally forgot to do it. We do have a Discord. You can join it. And there you can, if you want, like, hey, you mentioned self-serving bias. Can I see the citation to that? And I can provide like a citation to those articles to be providing the empirical empirical evidence behind the things we talk about, because a lot of things we talk about here are usually stemming from empirical articles that me as a graduate student I've either read it or have some familiarity with it, or I can dig up stuff. If you're looking for articles, maybe you're an undergrad and you're looking for an article in a different field completely, but you want like a citation for something, I can try my best to help you. But let's put on a different playlist, because it's a little bit quiet in here. Yeah, more music. You don't even have a command. What is? Oh, that command. I don't even know what that command is. First of all, the Discord command, and second, yeah, it's just if you want to just join yeah. Wow, I can't even English. If you want to join the Discord, just like say, hey, I want to say hi, or like say anything regarding the Discord, and I'll make sure you get into the Discord. You just gotta say it during any stream for now. I don't have anything plugged in like that. I don't have like all the time in the world to be making the most beautiful Twitch and everything like that. I wish I did. I wish I could devote a lot of time to this. But do you have Nightbot? I don't know what Nightbot is. I think I've heard of it. Is that the thing that keeps track of like people's chat and points and something like that? I don't know. I just don't have too much time to get Nightbot. I don't know how to. I'm just trying to sit here and talk science. I don't have all the time of the day to program machines and get them to do stuff. Google Nightbot. Oh, you're killing me.
Just do it after your stream.
Yeah, you're killing me. You're killing me.
Between this and the other part you're gonna do.
Let me see. What I'm really interested in is Nightbot. Nightbot is a chat for Twitch and YouTube that allows you to automate your live streams chat with moderation and new features, allowing you to spend what? Allowing you to spend more what? Allowing you to spend more time entertaining your viewers. But wait, but what does it actually provide? That's what I don't get. Like, I'm still interacting with you guys.
I think one thing you can do if they like talk about the Discord, so you don't have to do the link, it'll automatically do the link for you and stuff
Oh,
like that.
snickety snake!
If someone says something specific, like a specific keyword, it'll be like, hey, yeah, we have citations here. Like, yeah, here's this and this and this.
Wait, it can auto provide citations? Really?
I think it will, if they talk about citations, I think it will just send them to the Discord, say, hey, we have the citations here, kind of thing. I'm pretty sure. But I don't know.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna look into that, but I don't know when. Probably over the weekend. Okay, I'm gonna try to get that. I want that, so people can get access to the Discord. So in this Discord, there's also channels. I also want to promote this. It's not only just about science, it's about a lot of different stuff. So there's also a channel for art. There's also a channel for music. That was like by suggestion. I think Clicks actually suggested that, so thank you for the suggestion to put that into the Discord. Art and music channels. There's suggestion channels, anything you might want to see different or maybe added, or maybe topics to talk about, things like that. Anything. You can suggest anything. There's a channel for science memes, a goof off. There's a gaming channel, because this is still fun channel as well. We game on here as well. And then you have your information tab where you have your schooling channel. So anyone that has questions regarding schooling, like what's grad school like, or or college like, or if you're in high school, like what might be the right path. I don't know, things like that. If you have questions regarding that, the science channel to just discuss anything, even during streams, you could be chatting there if you wanted. A citation channel to ask or provide citations, stuff like that, and learning resources. I've already started compiling a list of resources in my about page below. But I'm hoping that like through diffusion of responsibility, if you will, through like a broader community, we can get really cool resources from different backgrounds and different fields and stuff like that. So that's what the Discord's about. That we are building. It's very new. Very new. What else? I don't know if I did a good job with Naive Realism. I feel like I failed it really bad. I bombed it. Let me see. Naive Realism provides a theoretical basis for several other cognitive biases, which are systematic errors when it comes to thinking and making decisions. So SPS was earlier mentioning cognitive biases. That's why I said that's a very like zoomed out term, because cognitive biases, there's like several of them, or plenty of them that have been studied. But I think he was referring to this, the cognitive biases, which are systematic errors when it comes to thinking and making decisions. These include the false consensus effect, actor-observer bias, bias blind spot, and the fundamental attribution error, among others. Fundamental attribution error is another one where I'll dedicate either Taco Tuesday. I think it's probably been Science Friday, to be honest. Fundamental attribution error is a really cool one, and it's very short. We got it? We got what? Okay, you got the Naive Realism. Cool. What else? Should we transition the night over into gaming then? Should we call this a good Science Friday? We did Epigenetics. We did Naive Realism. What do you guys think? Or more talking? What the heck? There we go. My thing keeps pausing. Float. Oh. Alright, I think I'm gonna start wrapping it up then. These tend to go for about an hour anyway, so this is kind of becoming the norm. I'm gonna give it like, while I talk, people can obviously put in anything. It doesn't have to end right now, but I think I am gonna start to close this down. If there are no questions, comments, or anything people just want to chat about, I'm gonna start signing off. I'm gonna give us until 1 hour and 20 to the 25th minute. What? What's jueves? Jueves? Here, I'll tell you how to spell it. Jueves. Jueves equals Thursday. Oh, oops. See, now I messed up. So jueves means Thursday in Spanish. All right. Well, in that case, there is no singular for jueves. Jueves is already singular. So anyway, I'd like to thank everyone that stopped by, whether you were listening or not. No, if you heard my voice, you were obviously listening. I don't even know what I'm saying. I like to, whether you chatted or not, that's what I was trying to say. Whether you chatted in the box or not, Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for listening. This was another fun Science Friday. If you're just joining us now, I'm very sorry but feel free. I always download all of the Science Fridays and Taco Tuesdays and upload them to the YouTube channel. You don't have to subscribe or anything like that, but they're there just as a record. So, yeah. So, and then a super thank you to everyone that participated in the chats. It's always fun. I always enjoy these conversations. Thanks for posing questions, giving interesting notions. This is fun. I'm always happy to continue. I'm going to continue doing these because they're great. And I have a lot of fun doing it. So yeah, the next time I'm gonna do something like this is the next Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. So another reminder, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I do something very similar to this, but it's really opened up to any category. It's not just science. And then again, every Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it's more focused in on science and science-related topics. So with that being said, if you're watching this as the recorded version, you made it this far, you're a champion. Thanks for continuing to watch these. Provides a lot of motivation as well. So thank you. Anyways, everyone have a really great weekend. Thanks for joining in. Have a good one.